Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the VizWorld Weekly Podcast, covering various news about graphics, animation, and scientific visualization around the internet. Since this is the first issue, you'll need to bear with us as whatever hiccups and glitches and high-pitched whines come into the video. This week, Autodesk announced that they'll be having the Autodesk University 2009 at the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada, December 1st through 4th. Registration doesn't open until August 12th, so you've got plenty of time to save up for the $1,900 registration fee if you want the all-inclusive pass. Sounds like it could be a good deal if you're interested in 3ds Max or Maya animation or any of the other Autodesk products. SIGGRAPH this week announced that the SIGGRAPH 2009 conference will be keynoted by Will Wright, creator of many popular video games, The Sims, Spore, SimCity, SimEarth, pretty much Sim Anything by Maxis. This could be worth watching if you're going to SIGGRAPH this year. Last time Will Wright keynoted a conference was when he made the first announcement of Spore several years ago. Also this week, CG Society announced a new workshop coming online called the Fundamentals of Digital Painting. It will be an 8-week course hosted by Don Siegmiller. He's very careful to note that this is not an introduction to Photoshop, but rather this is an introduction to basic painting, brushing, and texture techniques. So if you're interested in doing any kind of digital artistry, that might be worth getting into. This week was a pretty good week for videos shown around the internet. I've picked 3 to talk about, though sadly only 2 are still available. I was going to open with the fact that the opening credits for the new Watchmen movie have been released and are now available for viewing online. The work was done by a company called YU+CO. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to pronounce that. It's a great, fantastic piece of the alternate reality, setting that up of what happens in the Watchmen universe. Sadly, though, about 6 to 8 hours after it was posted online and made the rounds all around the internet, Warner Brothers sent out the cease and desist, so it's been pulled. I'm sure somebody has a copy somewhere. I haven't found it yet. Another piece that's been making the rounds this week is a video called World Builder by Bruce Brannett of Brannett Effects in Kansas City. It's another fantastic piece showing a type of holodeck environment. He's got some video overlaid on some fantastic CG animation that he's made, showing essentially what virtual modeling could be in a virtual environment. One interesting fact about it is that while it only took him 1 day to shoot the live video, it's taken him 2 years to get the visual effects up to par. He's just released that this week. The third video is one from Microsoft that was shown at the Wharton Business Technology Conference this last week. It's called simply 2019, and it details their vision of the future, year 2019. It's heavy on augmented reality, it's heavy on ubiquitous computing, it's heavy on data visualization, but it's still an interesting piece. Is it actually realistic 10 years out? Probably not, but it's always fun to see what Microsoft envisions for the future. This week was the CeBIT conference in Germany. So as usual with CeBIT, a lot of vendors are releasing and announcing new products. A few in particular, NVIDIA announced a whole new suite of chips, both mobile and desktop. While initially everybody was really excited by this, the discovery was made shortly thereafter that their new GTS 250 line is actually nothing more than a rebranded 9800 GTX Plus. That seems to be the case for most of the chips they announced, unfortunately. NVIDIA is just trying to make things sound better by taking their older chips and rebranding them using the new naming schemes so they sound like they're modern hardware, but they're really not. AMD, however, the AMD and ATI conglomerate, announced new chips that are actually fairly interesting. They're calling them the ATI Mobility Radeon 4860 and 4830. The big news is that they've moved to a 45 nanometer process. So these should be faster, cooler, and generally better all around. The higher end one actually supports dual display ports with GDDR5 memory, and they both support DirectX 10.1 support. Also, Asus was there and announced a new motherboard which amazingly has 7 PCI Express 2.0 X16 lane slots on it. Only 4 of these actually operate at the X16 speed, the other 3 run at just X8. But still, with 4 X16 PCI Express 2.0 slots, you've essentially got the power to drop a NVIDIA Quadroplex or a Tesla system directly into your motherboard. Not much news in computer graphics and information visualization software this week, but a few things. At CeBIT this week, NVIDIA and Nero, makers of popular CD, DVD, burning, ripping, transcoding tools, announced an alliance that's going to put CUDA acceleration in the new Nero Move It product. Nero Move It is essentially a replacement for the old Nero Recode product. It's a video transcoding and recoding tool. This alliance is very similar to the same thing that Adobe did with Premiere in their CS4 version, where if you have a high-end NVIDIA card that supports CUDA, then with the Nero Move It tool, you'll be able to use GPGPU acceleration in the transcoding and encoding processes. Nero Move It is actually already available, but the CUDA accelerated version is not available yet. It should be available later this month or early next month, they claim. Also, an interesting post that was on VizWorld and other places this week was 10 excellent open source and free alternatives to Photoshop. They listed 10 software products such as ChocoFlop, Pixin, Krita, GIMP, Pixelscape, and a few others. While honestly none of these are serious competitors to Photoshop, they each do things slightly differently and integrate some new technology and some new flow strategies that might be interesting to look at if you've never tried them before. If you have Photoshop, then you're probably not going to switch to one of these. But they might be worth looking into as features that might pop up in a future version of Photoshop, or as tools and software that Adobe might simply acquire and integrate into the next version of Photoshop. And that's it for this week's VizWorld podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. As this is the first issue, I am completely open to any ideas or suggestions for content or changes that you see fit, so feel free to drop me a line. All the articles that we discussed in this episode will be shown at the web post accompanying this podcast with links to the articles. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you again next week.